Welcome to today's episode of AI Data Quest, where we dive into the latest developments in artificial intelligence and their impact on various industries. In this episode, we're exploring a topic that's making headlines and stirring up a lot of discussions: the massive job layoffs in the video game industry caused by the rise of AI. The video game industry has always been a hub of creativity and innovation, but lately, it's been undergoing a significant transformation. With rapid advancements in AI, many tasks that human employees once performed are now being automated. From game testing and customer support to content creation and programming, AI is taking over roles traditionally held by people, leading to a wave of job cuts. Today, we'll be talking about why this is happening, how it's affecting the workforce, and what it means for the future of gaming. You will also have a chance to hear from industry experts, developers, and even some of those directly impacted by these changes. So, if you're a gamer, a developer, or just interested in the intersection of technology and employment, stay tuned as we unpack the profound impact of AI on jobs in the video game industry. Video games and the people who create them are facing tough times. In 2023, an estimated 10,500 industry professionals lost their jobs. This year, layoffs in the nearly $200 billion sector have increased, with about 11,000 more people being let go so far. Microsoft, the company behind Xbox and parent to several studios like Activision Blizzard, closed Tango Gameworks and AlphaDog Games in May. At the same time, generative AI systems from companies like OpenAI are spreading across industries, causing significant job losses. The gaming industry might be the most affected by AI. Its economic power has surpassed Hollywood's, but its workforce is largely non-unionized. A recent survey from the Game Developers Conference found that 49% of the over 3,000 respondents said their workplace used AI, and 4 out of 5 expressed ethical concerns about its use. It's here. It's definitely here, right now, says Violet, a game developer, technical artist, and a veteran of the industry who has worked on AAA games for over a decade. I think everyone's seen it get used, and it's a matter of how and to what degree. The genie is out of the bottle. Pandora's box is opened. Managers at video game companies aren't necessarily using AI to eliminate entire departments. Instead, they're leveraging it to boost productivity, cut corners, and fill gaps left by layoffs. This means that AI is increasingly replacing and reshaping jobs, though not always in obvious ways. The process is complex, driven by behind-the-scenes decisions, and its ultimate impact is still unclear. It's not a dramatic takeover, but rather a significant shift that's unfolding right now. The anxiety kept growing as Vance continued sending out AI-related updates. In May 2023, Bobby Kotick, who was the CEO of Activision Blizzard at the time, addressed a question about the impact of generative AI on the gaming industry during a company-wide meeting. Although many game workers and artists felt uneasy and even worried about their job security due to the growing use of AI, few felt comfortable speaking up. I think we all kept quiet because we were afraid of losing our jobs, Noah shares. Activision had reassured its artists that AI would be used only for internal concepts and wouldn't replace their roles. However, by the end of the year, Activision released an AI-generated cosmetic item for sale in the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 store. Shortly after, in late January, Microsoft announced layoffs affecting 1,900 employees from Activision Blizzard and Xbox, with 2D artists among those hit hardest. It seems that concept artists, graphic designers, asset artists, and illustrators are feeling the most impact from AI right now. Personal stories from game industry employees, laid-off workers, and countless posts on platforms like Reddit and X all point to this trend. Generative AI, which excels at creating 2D images, is often seen as good enough by managers in budget-tight studios. This term is now used by creative professionals to describe AI output that, while not replacing exceptional art, is still a threat to their jobs due to its cost-effectiveness. For now, tasks like 3D animation and programming are harder to automate completely. Games have used automation for years, from AI programs controlling enemies to managing environments and non-player characters. But today's buzz is around generative AI, driven by large language models, LLMs, and the latest tech advancements. A recent report from CVL Economics, commissioned by entertainment industry groups, highlights that the gaming industry is leading the charge in using generative AI. Their survey of 300 industry leaders revealed that nearly 90% of video game companies have already adopted generative AI. According to CVL, this technology is used extensively in game development, handling tasks like storyboards, character designs, renders, and animations. In fact, it could play a major role in over half of game development within the next decade. This shift might come as a surprise to some in the industry, who might not see the full scope of AI's impact, especially in large companies like Activision Blizzard, which involves a complex network of studios, developers, and testers. Not all, or even most, of the recent job losses in the video game industry are directly tied to AI. Many studios expanded rapidly during the early COVID-19 days and ended up overextended. Others, like when Microsoft acquired Activision Blizzard for a staggering $69 billion last October, had to make some tough decisions, leading to layoffs and shifts in leadership. We've also seen a trend where companies are turning more to outsourcing and contract work, following the path of major tech firms. For instance, right after being laid off from Riot Games, where they worked on character skins for League of Legends, Cross found themselves in a new opportunity. A company that specializes in outsourced artwork for game studios reached out to offer them a contract to create skins for League of Legends, paying a flat rate for each completed design. It's a sign of how the industry is evolving and adapting in these changing times. I do think AI is a problem, Cross says, but it's emblematic of a much larger issue. Art is undervalued in games, they say, and as with so many other jobs, it's a race to the bottom to drive down wages by any means necessary, often by outsourcing work to other countries. We started outsourcing lots of 3D art assets, almost all of the art, Noah, the Activision worker, claims, because in-house art couldn't keep up after the layoffs. Some of those third-party concept artists are using AI-generated art too, he says. Is this problem only in the USA, or are other countries affected by the same? And those companies in other countries, primarily China, are getting squeezed by AI too. Last year, Leo Li, a Hangzhou-based gaming industry recruiter, told Rest of World the number of illustrator jobs in his country had fallen by 70%, due in part to the widespread availability of generative AI tools. In Japan, the startup Crypto AI hawks AI-generated character illustrations that typically cost upward of 100,000 yen each to outsource can be obtained from Crypto for a flat monthly fee of 4,980 yen and a commercial license of 980 yen per image, per Bloomberg. That's $692 for one human-made illustration, versus $34 per month for access to an endless stream of the AI-generated variety. A human artist still needs to touch up the output, but they can be paid a lot less than the cost of retaining a staff illustrator, or for full custom design. Meanwhile, the leverage that AI tools give management, the justification for cuts, can be as impactful as the tech itself. Warner says many of her friends and industry colleagues' jobs were transitioned into AI image training jobs or AI image cleanup jobs over the last year or so, and then they were laid off. Now, she says, it's also unfortunately become fairly common to see job postings for concept art jobs that require applicants to use generative AI. If there's one thing a number of games workers say they're glad AI is generating, it's more interest in unions. AI is definitely a catalyst for workers to organize, says Beglov, who appeared on a panel on the topic at this year's GDC. If AI is going to be used, it has to be used with workers' consent and workers having a voice. 57% of developers surveyed by GDC organizers this year said they supported unionizing. Chrissy Felmuth, an organizer with International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, IATSE, and Beglov's co-panelist, points to the efforts Hollywood Guild writers made to secure protections from AI use in their contract with the major TV and movie studios. Right now, there's little to no worker consent between game developers and their managers about when and how AI could be used. A contract like the Writers Guild of Americas could change that. The use of AI is up to the writers and not the studios, Felmuth says. I think that's a great baseline goal for game workers to have. There's another factor that management might need to consider with the generative AI tools they've adopted. They might not be as good or reliable as expected. Stories of companies going too far with AI have been spreading on social media. As Lauren Lehman, an animation director at Terrible Posture Games, points out, AI can create pictures of guns and robots, but not one that transforms into the other. Even humans find that tricky. From what I've heard, They tried to bring in some AI prompters, but as soon as they said, "Yeah, that's a good start," the whole thing pretty much fell apart, Lehman says. Some video game companies are taking it even further, moving toward businesses that are almost fully automated with AI. Take Braindump, for example. They call themselves an AI game maker and aim to provide an entire AI game studio, complete with coders, artists, and everything you need to create your dream game. They promise that you can build entire top-down games and interactive worlds just by typing prompts. At the same time, big names like Activision Blizzard and Riot are working on their own in-house AI systems, with varying levels of success. Reportedly, Blizzard is building its own AI system too, which at one time was named Blizzard Diffusion. Though details are scarce, beyond a patent the company filed for a machine learning-based 2D structured image generation system. Blizzard's internal AI that they trained is still super secretive. Only those who have access to it work with it, and no one else knows how it works, Warner claims. Ultimately, those whose work is at stake, the developers, artists, designers, and programmers actually making the games, may determine how much AI disrupts their industry. How much of the gaming world gets automated away may depend on how much workers push back or demand control over the use of AI systems. Even without a direct link, many laid-off workers, including those featured in the Wired investigation, are connecting the dots. Some developers have voiced their concerns on Reddit. One wrote, "Getting a job in the game industry is already hard, but leaving a company and a nice team because I took my job feels very dystopian." Even if it's not widespread now, there's a real possibility that this could become more common in the future as AI gets smarter and studios tighten their budgets. As we wrap up today's episode, it's clear that the video game industry is navigating some significant changes. While AI is certainly a factor, it's just one piece of a much larger puzzle that includes overexpansion, mergers, and a shift toward outsourcing. The stories shared today highlight the complex landscape that developers face, balancing between innovation and job security. Looking ahead, it's essential for the industry to find ways to integrate AI that support and enhance human creativity rather than replace it. For those in the field, staying adaptable and open to new opportunities, whether in traditional roles or through freelance and contract work, will be key. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, change is the only constant, and together we can navigate it. See you next time.